Hello. The other day I did a podcast about how to get over an existential crisis, but then I realised existential crises are way more complicated than that. And I did some more digging because I've been going through one myself. Yes, it's been a little while now. I'm basically going through a midlife crisis at the age of 28. Better sooner than later, I suppose. At least I'll be well practiced when I get to midlife. So, I realised that existential crises are much more complicated. So I want to take a real bloody deep dive into existential crises. There's so many different types, and I want to be a bit more specific about the different types because I'm currently going through a career existential crisis. So today, guess what we're talking about? Career existential crises. I'm going to be talking about the different reasons you might be having an existential crisis related to your career. And then I'm going to be talking about, is career actually everything? Should we be basing our whole lives on career? And why do we care that much? Everyone's always like, I want to go on holiday. I don't want to be in my job. I want to spend time not working. I want to live for living, not live for working. And then we don't have a job and we're like, fuck, what is our life? What is my life? What is my existence? And then we start questioning things. So everybody thinks not having a job, bloody great. But is it really? Anyway, we'll be getting into that. Then we'll be finally answering your questions on how to get over a career existential crisis. It's a complicated beast to tame. I think I'm getting there, and I want to share my tips with you. So, let's get into it. By the way, guys, if you're new, I'm Dawn. I'm a doctor, so, it's a weird situation where a doctor is having a career existential crisis. I think most doctors just ignore their career existential crisis, and I think ignorance is bliss. It is, but does that mean that's the best thing for your life when you only have one? I don't know. Because, okay, we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, I'm Dawn. I'm a doctor. Hello. I post every Monday and Thursdays if you want to join me. And I discuss basically all of human life problems. I think that's how I'm going to summarise it. I discuss human life problems, but I teach you how to, actually solve them, sort of, if they're solvable. Or at least, manage them mentally. Because aren't we all just prisoners in our own brain? Anyway, although that all sounded very negative, I do put a positive spin on things. Hence why it's called Backseat Positivity, because you can make anything positive if you really try. Maybe not everything, but a lot of things you can make positive. I'm very sorry, I'm still getting over my cough. Still, yes. It's been a little while, crocodile, so there we go. I need to stop making that my catchphrase. Anyway, let's get on to finding the cause. To be honest, you've probably already found it because you clicked on this episode, you've decided to listen to me for however long I decide to blabber on for, and probably usually 45 minutes to an hour. So strap up your belts, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride because it's going to be a bumpy one. Will I cry? Who knows? I don't think I'll cry. I've already cried today and I think I got it out my system. It was a good one. It was a good baller. So, yeah, you've probably found the cause. You are like, right, I'm going through a career issue right now. So that's probably why I'm having an existential crisis. I guess, what is an existential crisis? I think, it's just where you question. The questions come into your mind, right? You start to question, what is life? What is my existence? What is my purpose? What the hell am I doing? And then sometimes it gets to the darker end of I'm going to die. And then what was my life? And what's the fucking point of me? Does anybody even care? I'm a blip in the what would you call it? I'm a drop in the ocean. That's the word I was thinking of. I'm a drop in the ocean. What the fuck is the point of my life? So there we go. That's an existential crisis in a nutshell. It's a pretty fun place to be. not. And it's something that plagues a lot of humanity. I talked about this in my last episode, and there we go. I went into a bit more detail in that episode about how humanity are just, throughout all of our lives, we think too much. And throughout all of humanity have questioned their existence. Anyway, if you want to go into a bit more detail about that, go watch that episode. It's called How to Get Over an Existential Crisis. Pretty fucking obvious. But there are a few reasons. I guess, how do you know it's career related? Well, come on, Dawn. It's bloody obvious. But I need to spell some things out, okay? Number one, you've been made redundant, and then you start to question your life. What is going on? Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? What am I doing? Yeah, don't worry, hon, I've been there. Number two, you got fired from your job. Not that common, but shit still happens, okay? You know, you might have accidentally gone on a date with your boss's wife. You might have stolen someone's sandwich from the fridge too many times. Not okay, by the way. Anyway, I shouldn't make jokes because it's quite a touchy subject, isn't it? You know, nobody really likes to be fired. But anyway, whatever, shut up. Right. You might be, okay, this is my one, okay, right? Miserable in your job. Most people don't quit. Most people are like, it's work. I should be miserable, or at least I can put up with being miserable because it's work. Or, I need money, so I'm not going to quit, and I'm just going to be miserable forever. Or, I can't quit because I don't have any money. And if I quit, then I can't pay the bills or the mortgage, and then I'll be homeless. Yay! And then, yeah, so a lot of people don't leave. I understand it. Okay, I was in a fairly good position that I was able to leave for a bit. I'm back. Guess who's back with a brand new rap? Me! So, maybe I'll get onto that a little bit more later. And, yeah, so, but you might also be starting a new career. But you might also be questioning, what did I choose this job for? It might not be that you hate it, but it might be like either your job's lacking purpose. So you're like, you go to work every day and you're kind of thinking, what am I doing? Like, I'm just doing the same shit, different day. What is the point of this? It's not impactful. No one cares. I don't even care. So how can anybody else care? What is the point? And you might have realised that the job that you're in is really not all it's cracked up to be. And I think that's, a lot of people get that in medicine because people are like, woo, I'm saving lives. I'm a hero. I'm amazing. Everyone appreciate me. And then you kind of get there and you're like, oh, cool. As a new junior doctor, I'm getting paid £14 an hour, which there are many jobs which pay more than that without significant debt and qualifications. And there is a somewhat thing of like, as a doctor, like, oh, woe is me. I am sad because nobody appreciates me as much as I wanted them to. And it's busy and I don't get a break. And does anybody really appreciate me? And anyway, you think it's all CPR and, you know, shocking people. And then they wake up and hug you and cry and thank you and say, oh my God, you saved my life. Well, it's not. Okay? And then you realise, oh, fuck, what am I doing? It wasn't like it was on Casualty. It wasn't like it was on TV. What am I going to do now? Okay, so those are the reasons you might be having an existential crisis. Let's talk about mine a little bit, because we all have a good story. I wasn't made redundant. Yay! I wasn't fired. Yay! I am starting a new career. I fulfill 3 of these criteria. And I'm not saying these are all the criteria. There are probably more. But I am fulfilling 3 of them. I think I need to I'm talking really super loudly today, so just going to turn the microphone down a little bit so I don't kill your ears. Now it seems a little bit too low. Is it too low? Is that better? Anyway, basically, when my boyfriend's not here, I talk exceptionally loudly when I'm podcasting. I prefer doing it when I know nobody's listening to me. I let loose a little bit, so I'm in one of those moods. He's gone tie shopping, if anybody cares. Probably not. Get to the point, Dawn! Get to the point! Okay, so what happened with me? Yeah, so I was miserable. I had a really toxic work environment. If you've been listening to my story for a while, my podcast or my YouTube channel, you will know. But if you haven't, then I'll just give you a little summary. So I was in a really toxic job, a really toxic work environment, fucking hated it. I was super glad to leave. And then I was like, well, I'm just not going to work for a bit. I've got enough savings. I don't want to go back. I was like, no, please, no, don't make me. And then I was like, wow, I might just leave medicine. I like performing. I started doing improv before I left the job. And then I was like, shit, I really love this. So I started to do more and more acting, applied to acting school, and now I'm waiting to hear back about bursary because I can't pay for it because I haven't had a job. Lol. Ironic. And then so I'm sort of in this weird in-between period where I want to do performing and acting, but also nobody really cares about who I am because I'm new. And also I've kind of left medicine, but sort of haven't because I need to pay the bills. So I'm I don't hate what I'm doing at the moment because I've just started at a new place and it's not awful. And I'm new, so, also the shifts are better. I can pick them whenever I want, blah, blah, blah. So I'm less miserable, but I'm still trying to start a new career at the age of 28. Maybe that's not that weird, but it feels weird when you feel like you've got your life set up and then you're like, nah, let's start again. Let's rewind the last 10 years. And right now I'm like, shit, I feel sorry for people who at the age of 18 had no idea what they wanted to do. Because I always know what I want to do, but I don't always know how to get there. But it must be awful not knowing what you want to do because you're just sort of like floating about, not really knowing, should I apply to uni? Well, I want to and I want to go with my friends, but I also don't want to just go to uni for the sake of it and like pay thousands of pounds for a degree that I don't give a shit about or whatever. So I was lucky in that respect. That's a whole nother episode right there. Trying to choose what you're doing at uni. Should you even go to uni? I have a friend that didn't go to uni. She actually just worked after sixth form, and I think she did it right. She took, until she was 25, she was trying to figure out, what do I want to do? And she didn't just go, oh shit, everyone else is going to uni, so I'm going to too. She went, no, I don't want to go. And kind of held her ground. And then she went at I don't know how old she was, 24, 25. And then she now does a job that she likes, which is pretty good. And maybe there's some merit in not starting work. Maybe we'd all be having these fewer career crises if we were able to start our careers at the age of 25 when we've actually sorted our fucking personalities out. Because I'm telling you, I was not a stable person until I was 24, 25. I wouldn't say. And I think that goes to say for everybody. I was a very mature person, but I wouldn't say that I'd figured life out. Maybe I haven't still now. But I wouldn't say that I'd figured out who I was, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be in 30 years. And it's we have to make these decisions at the age of 18, younger, 16, younger. Wait there. I made the decision, some people make the decision that they want to be doctors at 4. I do think that's probably a bit too soon. But that's probably because their parents do it, not because they actually want to. Controversial. But I made the decision at how old was I? 14, 15, and it was sorry, my mind just went like somewhere else then, completely somewhere else, and I lost my train of thought. I was in the room, and now I'm not, and now I'm trying to get back in. Come on, Dawn. So, I had to decide at age 14, because you basically, I know you should still try at your GCSEs, but when you don't have anything to aim for, you're like, what's the point? Like, you're 14, you're like, I don't care. It kind of feels like, I don't know, like, are we all just doing education a little bit wrong? Should it just be a bit more chilled out and we don't actually come out of free education until we're 25? Can you imagine? That'd be great. Because it's like, well, I'll just explore what I want to do and not what society thinks I should do. But alas, we are where we are. We're here. You have to decide your career fairly early, unless you've got the courage and ability and actually you really don't know what the fuck you want to do at that age, and then you wait. But is career everything? Let's get on to the second question. Our careers are a strong identity, and it goes without saying that whenever somebody finds out I'm a doctor, not that I go blurting it out everywhere or like wearing a fucking badge or whatever, but it changes the way people see me. 100%. I notice it, and I think people... So it came up last night in my acting group after, we had like drinks after, and it came up last night. And I just noticed that people treat you differently. I'm going to be very honest here, okay? I don't want to big myself up. I don't go out saying, I'm a doctor, everyone, fucking love me, respect me. But it's a side effect of how people see doctors in society. So I'm just giving you the facts. I guess maybe it's subjective fact because it's how I perceived it. But I think it's generally how other people would perceive it. Okay, so when I told these people last night, because I was telling them I was having an existential crisis, because sharing's caring, okay? When you're going through these shit times, you need to ride that boat with somebody else. And it doesn't necessarily need to be somebody else that's going through an existential crisis, although hold my hand, we'll go through it together. But I guess it can help. I don't know if you bring each other down though. But I think it's just important to vocalise, or maybe not even say it out loud. You can journal. Whoa, wait there, I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself, aren't I? But it is good to share your shit situation with other people. And by the way, I just want to point out that even if you are made redundant, fired, miserable in your job, starting a new career, or realise what the job you're in or the career that you've taken is not all it's cracked up to be, does not mean that you go to an existential crisis. You can actually be like, well, fuck, I'm having a great time now, okay? It doesn't need to be a miserable experience. But I'm assuming that because you're here, you're probably going through the existential crisis. But I don't want it to be like, oh, everybody who changes career has an existential crisis. In fact, no, I think some people can find it very liberating. But yeah, I think there are reasons why that's different. Some people might change career and the other career that they're trying to get into is easier to get into. So for acting, hard to get into. In terms of actually getting acting jobs, because people need to know about you, people need to hear you. If I wanted to become a barista, for like a random thing that I just thought of then, I don't think it would be that hard. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You do have to get training, but a lot of people are willing to train you. And there's always signs for baristas at cafes. Cafes are very common. And I don't think a lot of people want to do it. Like, it's not like a highly competitive job. Unlike medicine and acting. So yes, I'm going from one of the most competitive careers to equally one of the most competitive careers. But both of them, as a result, require a lot of money. And that's kind of a sticking point there. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I think if maybe I wouldn't be going through an existential crisis if I could just get into the other career that I wanted to do easier. Like, I'm not saying fucking make my life easier, God. No, I'm not saying that, although it would be nice. But I know that's not going to happen. But I'm saying, I just never want to sound like an entitled bitch, okay? But I'm saying that if the stars were to align and you don't have that weird like interim period, I think life, you kind of skip the existential crisis a little bit because you're just like, whoa, okay, you don't have time to like sit and think like, oh shit, what am I doing with my life? This career change isn't really working out for me. And I think that's the difference. Time it takes to change career. Do you know what you want to change to? If you don't, then you're kind of like, oh fuck, what's going on? Money is a big thing as well. Do you have enough money to change career? Do you have enough money to leave your job? Do you have enough money to get into the new job? Because being an actor, although I'm a performer by nature, I don't know if I am, although I'm a performer by nature, it's still hard to get into. People want to know that you've been trained, like just like medicine. People don't want their doctor to be like, yeah, I can probably perform surgery. No, they want to know that if you go to that operating table, you are going to be able to operate. And the same for the stage. If you go onto the stage, people want to know that you are going to perform and not just going to be like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing here, help, and run off the stage or cry or both. So, okay, let's go back to career identity. I have problems staying on one tangent, okay? If that's a problem for you, I'm very sorry. I can't do anything about it. It's the way my mind works, and I just want you to, either get on board with it or I'm sorry, we're going to have to part ways. I'm really sorry. So, that's my issue. I've laid it all out on the table. Should you stay or should you go? No, please stay. Okay, right. Is career everything? Like I was saying, career seemingly in our own identities, how we identify as a living human being, seems to be extremely important. It just does, amongst many other things, but in particular career. I mean, if you think about it, dating back a long time, people used to have their last names based on their career. Smith used to be like a blacksmith or whatever. I mean, these aren't necessarily fully true. But Baker, you can probably guess. So our identity why am I talking so loudly? Our identity is like literally ingrained into our nomenclature identity. So we were named after our careers. And obviously that's not the case now. But for me, it affects how my title appears, doctor. I'm not a miss, although on official documents I am because I can't be asked to change it. I am still Miss Dawn Barlow, but if I'm given the option, I'll probably, especially on like hospital forms, I do put doctor because I do get called nurse a lot. So it's, I'd rather not make the confusion any worse. Okay, just because I've got boobs and a vagina doesn't mean I'm a nurse, alright? I'm sorry, we had to say it. So, yeah, there's a strong identity in our careers and how we relate to the world. I just realised I didn't tell you how people react when I tell them I'm a doctor. Should I tell you now? Yeah, I will. So, whenever people think I'm, just Dawn the actor, don't know anything about me, not the actor because I'm not an actor, but acting school, people, I would say, just treat me neutrally. I think this is how I'm perceiving it. Maybe I'm biased, but people perceive me neutrally. And then when people find out I'm a doctor, it's like they change. I don't want to say it because it makes me sound like I'm being a narcissist and I'm being like, people respect me. I don't want it to be like that at all. But there is a sense of respect that changes, you know? It goes from, Dawn, the 28-year-old woman. Well, it sounds weird saying woman. I still see myself as a little kid, not a woman. And I do act like a child, sort of. Anyway, people see me instead as Dr. Dawn, and you know, some people do actually weirdly call me that, and a lot of my friends do as a joke, but they're like, "Oh, Dr. Dawn," and yeah. So basically, what do people think about doctors? Number one, they are intelligent. So people tend to be like, "Oh, you know, you're a doctor. You should know you're a doctor." Or they'll ask you questions about medical stuff or their own health. Or the one thing that changes, for sure, people just tell me all of their medical problems. I don't mind because I'm quite nosy. And I don't tell anybody, don't worry. So if you do want to share your medical problems with me, that's fine. I'll happily listen. The juicier, the better. But I'm confidential. But no, people have told me some really crazy stuff. Like, crazy in terms of, I've only just met you and you're telling me about your episiotomy and how many stitches they had to use to stitch your vagina up and what kind of rectal prolapse you had. I am not fucking joking. People will tell me this stuff and then people will... it's like crazy. People, even if it's not that intimate, people tell me their medical history. And I don't know why. I don't ask them. I really don't. Maybe I did yesterday, but I don't ask them. And I don't press, you know? If they don't want to tell me, I'm like, it's fine. But I don't know. Like, people just... I don't know if people trust me more because they know I'm a doctor, whether people think I'm interested because I'm a doctor, whether people... I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if anybody listening to this even cares, but I think it's interesting. Okay, so number one, people tell me about their medical problems, however intimate, in whatever location they deem fit, okay? Whether it's at a bus stop, whether it's a 5-year-old's birthday party. Not that I'm ever at one of those, but I'm telling you. Yeah, people ask me medical questions, but I think the difference is, yeah, people think I'm intelligent, people trust me, and people respect me more, I would say. And that's why I don't actively volunteer my career status to people. So, unless it's like, you know, when it's like a question that you can't really get out of, because I don't want people to judge me based on my career, and I think that's what a lot of people do. I want people to see me for me, and it's hard because I know a lot of people get a lot of identity from their careers, and I know that probably in the medical profession as well, a lot of your self-worth comes from what people think of you and whether people respect you and whether people trust you and treat you in a certain way and talk to you in a certain way. And does it affect my brain? Yeah, it fucking does. Like, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't love it when people respect me. Like, I remember, okay, this is a naughty time that I have used my I wasn't a doctor at the time, but I was a medical student. Somebody tried to tell me something that was literally medically factually incorrect, and we're telling other people it, and I was like, it's not true. And they were like, what do you know? Like, they didn't say that, but it was kind of like, well, you don't fucking know anything. And I was like, well, actually, I am studying to become a doctor. And then they were like, oh shit. Nobody believed me until I said this. And I'll tell you what it was. It was people were saying that a broken bone and a fractured bone are different. And, you know, obviously not being a doctor, I'm not allowed to like give medical advice or whatever. But I knew this 100% was factually incorrect. And the same person, I think it was the same person, also said that you can catch herpes? I don't know, some kind of STI from a toilet seat. And I was like, I presumed that incorrect, but I left that one. I was like, you believe whatever you want to believe, hun. You go for it. So that is a time where I have used, you know, when people are just like saying kind of, that one wasn't dangerously incorrect, but it was kind of frustrating to be like, why won't you listen to me? Like, I know 100% that this is not true. They were like, a fracture's worse than a broken bone. And I was like, there are different types of fractures, i.e. breaks, but they are still the same thing. Anyway, there we go. Gal educated somebody. But I think there are a lot of people that hold the badge of doctor very closely to their identity and kind of like it. And I get it. Like, I do. And, you know, if you're, I don't know, something that's highly prestigious, then you don't want to give up that respect. So it goes to show in any kind of social situation when people are like, the common question is, and what do you do? What's your name and what do you do? And I don't really know how to answer that right now. I just say, like, I don't know. It varies. But what I'm saying is, in our culture, that question is asked extremely frequently. And what I kind of like about acting and like that kind of sphere is nobody actually asks unless you actively talk about it. Like, I don't know what a lot of people in my acting classes do. And in some way, I kind of like it. It creates like a nice, even platform for everybody to work off of, rather than being like, oh my God, they're I don't know, a police officer, or oh, they're a doctor, I don't want to behave in a certain way, or, you know, just nice even playing field, and let's go and play from there. I think also our careers, we spend a lot of time doing them, like potentially 8 hours a day, maybe longer, 40 hours a week. Like, that is a long time. And especially you do it almost all of your young life. So it dictates most of your young life, especially, well, until you retire, potentially, which is a long fucking time. So if you don't love it, then it's kind of hard. And I'm kind of glad that I've taken this step earlier rather than, you know, sooner rather than later, and being like, no, actually, I'm gonna venture out a little bit. I always wanted to, but I was always a bit scared, and I get it. Like, you're putting a lot of work in for not really much, and sort of seems like a waste of time, and you're like, it's just extra time trying to juggle 2 careers, isn't it? But I think your happiness is important. I really do. I think if you don't love your career, if you don't love your job, and that is a whole nother question, like, is a job just a job, or, you know, should you be happy doing it? And my personal opinion is, yes, it's important to get money, but if you hate your life, then it's sort of, what was the point? because I don't want to sound bloody cliche, but you do only live once. And if you get to the end of your life and go, well, that was fucking shit, wasn't it? You can't do it again. And so I do think you should enjoy your work. And if you don't, then I could do a whole nother episode on this, and I will if you say yeah, please do that in the comments or whatever. I'll do an episode on how to leave your job safely, because I think I'm doing that. I haven't fully made the transition, but I'm getting there. So I've got some experience, all right? Now, what happens when you do leave your job? Now, that's a good question. And you might be in the position right now where you're like, I'm bloody miserable, but I'm too scared to leave my job. But like I said, I can do an episode on how to make the change. But when you do leave your job, you have a lot of time to think. I'm so sorry, I had to leave. I don't know why I tell you this, because it's almost pointless, because I just cut it out and it's like you would never know. But I just had a poo emergency. When I have caffeine, it really gets my bowels going, and you're literally sat in the middle of a podcast, you're like, I'd quite like to carry on, but your body tells you otherwise. So basically, I'm back. I am back. Right. Okay, where was I? So, you leave your job / lose your job. You aren't in your job anymore. And you're sort of, at first, it's pretty great. You're like, wow, I've got all this free time. And if you have money, it's all right, okay? You're like, I've got time. I've got, I'm just enjoying my life now. That goes on for about a week or two. Maybe a bit longer if you've got lots of money and you can do things in that time. But then you really need to start cutting down your spending, because you can't just burn through all of your money unless you have an endless source of money from somewhere else. I don't know. Lucky you. But I didn't. Most people don't. And you need to start controlling your spending. As a result, your quality of life, changes. I wouldn't say it gets worse, although I definitely probably would say it gets worse. You end up just, you don't go out for food, you don't go on holidays. I haven't been on a holiday in fucking ages. You are a bit more cautious about money. You're like, oh, I can't go and do that event. It's like 40 quid or whatever. Whereas before you might have been like, oh, 40 quid, that's fine. I can earn that back. Now you're like, no, I can't. So I need to try and conserve money. And unless you either have lots of money or get a job in the meantime, you have a lot of time to think, a lot of time to ponder. And after a while, your routine starts to slip. You end up getting up later, or you don't get dressed, or you just watch too much TV, and then you just start to lack kind of purpose. You get up and you're like, what's the point? Like, what am I doing? I'm just watching TV. And I think people who aren't very career focused, I'm just going to say it. I often question, should I say this? And then I'm like, no, I'm just going to say it, because I think honesty is the best policy. People who don't have any career options, either maybe they're lazy, or they don't want a job, or they're on benefits. Not knocking anyone who's on benefits. I've been on them myself. But, the kind of people who aren't necessarily career focused, or maybe they, aren't clever enough, or I don't know all the reasons, but I think most of the time it's laziness, and you can go on benefits in the UK. But anyway, those people, about this time in their lives, they go, oh, my life's lacking a bit of purpose, I'm bored, I can't just watch TV all day, what shall I do? This is where drugs start, okay? You either go on drugs to make your life better, because this is what I mean. You think alcoholics are alcoholics because they want to be? No, it's because they're knowing themselves of some kind of problem, whether that's an existential crisis, whether that's abuse, or the fact that they're homeless, or maybe they became homeless because they're an alcoholic. or vice versa. People do drugs because they are trying to escape from something bad, and may that be an existential crisis. It could well be. So it's either that, or they get a job sometimes, or they have children. Now that is a common one, and I do think that's why people who don't have jobs or are on benefits or whatever, and you also get rewarded for having children when you're in that situation. Because like, right, what do I do? Well, I don't have a job. I can't just watch like TV all day. I can't just watch Homes Under the Hammer. I was going to say Jeremy Kyle, but then I realised that he's not doing that anymore. So yeah, can't watch Homes Under the Hammer. I love Homes Under the Hammer. Love, love, love. Can't watch that all my life. So what should I do instead? Okay, well, I'll have a child. That gives you a purpose. It does. I'm sorry. It does. And then you've got your purpose, and then you've got something to focus on, and people give you attention. You get benefits for being pregnant. You are more likely to get things. There are literal beneficial reasons to having more and more children. The more children you have, the more benefits you get, the more attention you get, the more times you're pregnant, you get free healthcare, you get free dentistry when you're pregnant. So I'm not saying all of those things are bad. I'm just saying there is an incentive to having children and having more and more of them, especially if you don't have a career. And that's why people who have a career are more likely to have less children, because actually, if you have a career, having more children becomes more difficult. It does. Like, you don't get more pay if you have more children. You get the same. And arguably then you can work less because you then need to find more childcare. So actually it tips the balance weirdly to people who don't have careers or, you know, don't have that kind of career progression, having more children, and people who have careers and are well educated and blah, 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 having less children. So yeah, it's a bit of a interesting situation, which I'm sure will be fun to find out how that works out in the future. So nobody, generally, the thing that's going to push your career is either you, money, or somebody else. Now, money has probably been the strongest career pusher for me because it's running out. So I'd say there are people that want my money more than I want money. It's not that I am like, I want money. It's I need money, okay? So you kind of get to a point where you're like, fuck, and then you start worrying about money because you're running out and other people want money from you. I don't mean like, you know, other people are just wanting money from you. I mean, you know, electricity companies, gas companies, subscriptions, etc. Whatever it may be, other people always want money from you. They do. And whether it's, you know, it might be your house wants money from you because it's falling apart. Who knows? Although, who owns their house nowadays unless they're 50, hey? Or in a relationship. Fucking don't get me started. Okay, that's a big old pet peeve of mine. Being able to try and buy a house when you're in any situation that's not retired or in a couple or extremely rich parents. Anyway, how do we get over it? Here's what you came here for, really, isn't it? Probably the last 15 minutes. Here's what you came here for. I would say your career isn't you. It doesn't define you. And you are now remapping your life. I think that's bloody great. Like, I honestly do. You're doing a very brave thing that almost nobody else does, and that is leave a job that you hate or change careers or whatever. You can now define your new life. I think a lot of people are stuck in their ways and are too afraid to get out, or literally can't, because they have children, they have commitments, they have other people relying on them. So they're stuck and they're miserable. guess what? That's not you. You're having a good time. And it will be stressful, okay? I've literally written, it's going to feel shit for a bit. I'm in the shit stage. Well, I am actually coming out of the shit stage because my shit stage was mainly fueled by my issues with money, and now that I'm working in the hospital again, my issues with money are relieving, which is good, because money is stressful, like, if you don't have any. Maybe money's stressful if you do have it as well, like a lot. I've never been there, but then you're like, well, do people want me for me, or do people want me for my money, or why are they being nice to me? I don't know. Extremes of everything are never good. So, firstly, I've been journaling today, and it's been great. It's like having a counsellor that you don't have to pay for. Whether you might not have somebody who you can talk to about it, and that's fine. And I have a YouTube channel and a podcast that I can vent to, which is weirdly cathartic, and it's definitely made me more open. I have to say everything that I'm thinking out loud, which is a kind of bizarre thing to do. I'm not saying you need to go start a podcast or a YouTube channel, although go for it if you want to. There are dangers that come with that, though. And, maybe actually you could just document your career change. But anyway, that wasn't the tip at all. The tip was to journal, to express your feelings if it's feeling shit, and you can reflect on them, you can just describe them, you can say why it's feeling shit, where do you want your life to go. And I think you realise a lot of things by writing them down, talking about them, or speaking to somebody about them. Now, it can often feel a bit cyclical when it's just going round and round in your head. That's the issue, is yes, you can just think about it, but it's just like a constant cycle of like, I hate my life and what am I doing? And then it just goes round and round and round. Whereas if you get it on paper, get it like out somewhere, or like discuss it with somebody, you can kind of reason with it. Now, depending on whether you have any savings or not is going to dictate what you do next. I would say if you've been fired or made redundant and you have no savings, or you leave your job and you have no savings, which, in my opinion, bad idea. But if you leave your job, you need to get a new job. I'm sorry. Like, money isn't everything. It doesn't buy happiness, but it pays the bills. And I know, unless you can move in with a parent or someone who will support you, or you've got another stream of income, or you have no expenses, I don't know, but just get anything. I don't know what career field you're in, but you may need to lower your expectations a bit, and that is a hard thing to do, especially as a doctor. I was like, well, what do I do if I don't want to be a doctor? Nothing pays as well, I wouldn't say, unless you have another degree in something, or it's hard. It really is. So, yeah, I would also start budget cutting, and you may need to start getting into your savings, whether you need to release them from an ISA or whatever. It's going to feel shit, but it's time to be proactive. But it's also time to play. You get to figure out your life again. How exciting is that? You might want to go into a more creative field, and that is liberating. It seriously is. I don't want you to see this weird situation that you're in at the moment. I don't want you to see it as fully negative, okay? Because it's time to find your new place in life, and that's exciting. And if it doesn't work out, well, you can go back to whatever you were doing before, because you've got experience in it. So you've probably got something to fall back onto. Great, excellent. I would say during this time, self-care, very important, okay? Remember to shower. Sounds obvious, but when you don't leave the house, you're kind of like, is there any point? Number 2, exercise, just do it, okay? Go out, leave the house every day. Go for a walk, go to the garden. You don't have to physically leave your house boundary, but get outside. Like, just don't sit in one room all day watching the TV. It's depressing. You need a routine as well. I am in a bad routine at the moment. I'm trying to get out of it. And work is actually helping, ironically, because tomorrow I have to be in the hospital at 9, which I haven't been up at that time for a while. But this morning I got up. I didn't go and sit downstairs in my dressing gown, which is what I've been doing, naughtily, and just watching TV with the curtains shut. I got dressed straight away. Important. I got dressed, went downstairs, let the dogs out, got my food ready, and got my journal, and went and sat outside and journaled while I had my morning coffee. It was great. I looked at the tadpoles. I've got tadpoles at the moment. I love looking at new life and things growing. It makes me happy. So I go and watch the tadpoles for 10 minutes a day. That's not in my routine. It's just like a weird thing that I do. I like crouch down. It's a good stretch as well. Crouch down by the pond and watch nature. I love watching the tadpoles. They make me very happy because I've seen them from little bubbas, and now they're like this long, and their like bodies, their tails are going to drop off soon. So no, they need legs first actually. So yeah, your sleep routine might go out the window. If you're anything like me, I'm the kind of person who tends towards late night, late riser. Some people go the other way. They're like, oh, I don't have anything to do. I'm a morning riser and I go to sleep early. I wish I was that kind of person because the world favours those people, okay? Early bird catches the worm. Is that what it is? But yeah. Next, I've already kind of alluded to this. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. It's very easy to start numbing your existential feelings with drugs. I don't mean the hardcore shit. You know, I'm not expecting you to go out and find a heroin dealer. But alcohol, sleeping pills. Alcohol is probably the most common one. Smoking. And then you might get on to, some people might start doing weed or, do you know what I mean? The other kind of drugs, the illegal ones. But alcohol, I would say, is probably the most common and therefore the most dangerous. Because people underestimate the effect of it, the addictability, and people can become very dependent on it. And it also makes you depressed. Not that any drugs make you happy, apart from maybe antidepressants, but arguably not too. But it isn't going to make you happy. It might numb the pain, but it won't help you in the long run, okay? Please just listen to me on that. Don't do drugs. I think a common question you're going to get asked is, so what are you doing right now? What do you do for work? Come up with an answer, okay? Whether you just say, I'm between jobs. Okay, let me give you some examples. By profession, I am a doctor. You could be like, well, I'm unemployed. I'm currently working towards a career in acting. I'm going to drama school. Do you know what I mean? Come up with an answer, because you don't want to have... It's like... It's not that it like matters as such, but it'll make you feel like you've got your life together a bit more if you have an answer. And that's what's important. The last tip for existential crisis is actually more about getting back into work. And that is that you need to be happy starting at the bottom again. Because it's horrible, like, going from being a doctor where I can show someone a certificate, my GMC registration and blah, 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 and my skills and my CV, and everyone going, yeah, you can have a job, to going into acting where I don't have any training, no one really gives a shit about me, and no one knows my name, I don't have a certificate. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm starting from the very bottom again, where I have to prove myself to people in certain forms, and I'm trying to get into a very difficult career. Now, the issue is with with medicine, not an issue. The good thing about medicine is once you're in, you're in. You're on that one-track road to consultant life. But the thing is with acting is once you're in, you've still got to keep working. So I'm making my life a bit more difficult, yes. But will I enjoy it more? I don't know yet. And look, you can take solace in the fact that you can always go back to what you were doing before. You don't need to be a martyr and be like, well, I've chosen acting, but I don't like it. It's too hard, or I can't do it, or I'm not very good at it. I need to stick to it because I've changed career. No, just go back. Like, you tried it, you didn't like it. Follow your heart. That's all I'm saying. Okay, guys, that's nearly an hour. Wowzers. My voice is starting to hurt, so I'm going to get going. I think that's actually it anyway, so yeah. And I've got to go to acting class, ironically, in like an hour, I believe. So I better get going because I'm late to everything. Anyway, if you liked it, please give it a like. If you're listening, then please rate my podcast on Spotify or wherever you're listening to the podcast. That would be amazing. If you're listening on my Buzzsprout webpage, then it'd be great if you went over to Spotify and liked it, as in gave it a rating, 5 stars, ideally, please. And yeah, I mean, it's going to help my career support, changing careers. So it'd be good. And then, yeah, I upload every Mondays and Thursdays, although I said that earlier. And yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I love to hear from you. I honestly do. I love getting interaction from my listeners. It's really great to hear from you. Are you currently going through a career change? What are you changing from to? I'd love to hear. It'd be great to start a little discussion in the comments down below if you're on YouTube. If you're listening, go check it out on YouTube. Dawn Barlow. Just type it in. Anyway, love you. See you in a few days. Bye.